What's up, guys? So back with another video here. So in this video we're going to be talking about investing $5,000 into Bitcoin for beginners. So yeah, so I just ended up getting my workout in and went for a bit of a walk. So here I am, I'm just chilling outside of the mall right now, and I wanted to kind of talk about this conversation that I had last night with a friend. So give you guys a quick background on him. I'm not going to mention his real name, but he's in his 50s. He's from the UK, and you know, he has a traditional bank account like most people, and he was really curious about Bitcoin. He was very interested in kind of understanding more about it. So we talked about Bitcoin just like I talk a lot on this channel, kind of explaining to you guys the basics of Bitcoin, why I save in Bitcoin, etc., etc. So he ended up saying something kind of interesting. I wanted to make a video about this because I'm pretty sure there's other people that have the same question. So he was wondering if $5,000 was enough to get involved in Bitcoin, and I told him absolutely yes. Now, the current Bitcoin prices, okay, you know, you got to really think about not so much how much money that you're investing per se, but how much Bitcoin you're acquiring. Okay, so it's not the fiat dollar amount. Remember, we're transitioning from the fiat standard to the Bitcoin standard. But I told him, look, okay, if you put in like 5,000 US dollars, something like that, you know, you're going to be able to get about 0.05 Bitcoin at current prices, give or take, right? And that obviously won't last, guys, okay? But $5,000 is a great starting point for a lot of people. So he told me that he was banking at Nationwide in the UK. So I simply told him, get on Coinbase, okay? Coinbase is a great way for him to be able to buy and sell Bitcoin with his first $5,000. Now, me, guys, when I started in 2019, I only started with $20, okay? So I started with a lot less money. But $5,000 is more than enough money. So it's very simple to get started, okay? All you need to do is simply link your bank account, okay, to your Coinbase account, secure it properly, you know, use 2FA security and things like that, right? You can use a security key for more, and even make it even more secure. And you simply need to just, you know, deposit your money into Coinbase, okay, and hit the smash the buy button. It's as simple as that, you know. It's nothing complicated, you know, about Bitcoin or purchasing it for the first time. It's really simple. So when you do this, though, I told him, you know, hey, you might want to think about not just putting the $5,000 in there and just letting it sit. Simply because Bitcoin is the best savings account, okay? So I recommended putting at least 10% of his monthly income into Bitcoin on a regular basis. So if he were to start out with like $5,000, great, that's fine. And then he can just add to it, okay, whenever he gets his salary. That's a great strategy to start investing $5,000 into Bitcoin, okay? And I was also telling him that, as I made previous videos, if you have at least 0.01 Bitcoin, you're already in the top 10% Bitcoin holders anyway. So with the $5,000 investment, he won't be in the top 10%, but he'd probably be in the top 20% of all Bitcoin holders, which is still a fantastic feat, especially for someone just getting started. Now, he kept talking about some of the other questions that we were talking about, kind of just trying to remember the conversation. You know, it was it was kind of late night, and you know, we were all hanging out at this bar area. So he also was very kind of concerned about the price, and I told him, hey, you know, it's not too late, okay? It's not too late to get into Bitcoin, right? Yes, it would have been better to get into Bitcoin years and years ago, but it's still not too late to get into sound money, right? To kind of, you know, transfer your wealth from weaker government currencies that can be inflated and things like that, and transitioning into real money, hard money. It's never too late to do that. It's always a good idea to do that anytime you get the opportunity. So if you're simply saving up $5,000 and you want to dump it into Bitcoin, that's fine. Now, his situation, a little bit different. He has some other money, most of it obviously in a traditional bank account, and he just wants to put a percentage of it. So I also recommended that he put at least maybe 5 to 10% of all of his money into Bitcoin, just for starters, okay? So for some of you out there, maybe you don't have a good chunk of money saved up or whatever, but just remember that that $5,000 doesn't have to be all of your money, okay? It doesn't have to be like you have to take your entire checking account and transfer the money over. What you can do is you can put the $5,000 in there and just, like I said, just sit back and monitor Bitcoin, okay? Like I said, for some of you guys out there, you're doing really well in your careers, you maybe own property and things like that, $5,000 is not going to be, it's not going to be a big concern for some of you guys watching this. Some of you guys watching this are doing quite well for yourselves financially, and congratulations. But just realize that $5,000 is still a lot of money to most people on earth, okay? You know, I'm living in Southeast Asia now, and probably the average per capita GDP around here is somewhere around $5,000 a year. So just don't let the small amount of $5,000, don't let it like kind of, make you unmotivated and thinking, it's not that much. It is. It's a great starting point, okay? Obviously, if you have more money as you learn and get more comfortable with the Bitcoin standard, you're going to want to put more money in. But for $5,000, I believe $5,000 is a fantastic starting point, guys. Do not underestimate the power of $5,000, okay? It's a good chunk of money to a lot of people in this world. And it still has decent purchasing power. Now, we don't know how long that's going to have decent purchasing power, as fiat currencies continue to lose value. But the important thing to remember is that it's a great starting point. So, guys, like I said, starting with $5,000, make it simple. Now, if you don't want to buy Bitcoin through Coinbase, right, or a cryptocurrency exchange, right, maybe, he's in his 50s, he seems pretty confident with using, he seems pretty confident with buying Bitcoin, he doesn't really care. But I know some of you guys out there, you don't want to buy Bitcoin like that, okay? You're not interested in doing that. So you can use the Bitcoin ETFs, okay? Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for some of you guys outside the United States to invest in some of these Bitcoin ETFs. So what I would recommend is trying to set up an account at IBKR. That's probably the most international friendly brokerage out there for you guys that are outside the States, like in the UK or something like that. And you can try investing in some of these Bitcoin ETFs, okay? Like IBIT, FBTC, right? GBTC, BITB. These are just some of the better Bitcoin ETFs out there where you don't have to take custody of your $5,000. So let's say you dump the $5,000 into a Bitcoin ETF. You don't want to worry about dealing with Coinbase or Robinhood or any of these exchanges. That's an option too. But just realize that the expense ratio is going to take a tiny chunk of your capital every year. So it's not a lot. Most of these Bitcoin ETFs, like I said, in many videos I've mentioned, they have like a expense ratio just like 0.25%, which is not a lot of money. So, on a $5,000 investment, you're really only going to be paying about like $12 a year in fees for them to custody your Bitcoin. So it's a great deal, like $12 on a $5,000 investment, it's not a lot of money. It's like $12.50, something like that. It's a small amount of money to kind of pay these ETF companies to custody your Bitcoin. So that's another alternative as well. But once you get your $5,000 in, what you really want to do is you want to start reading, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys out there are susceptible to FOMO, okay? I know a lot of guys out there are susceptible to FUD, and you let your emotions get the best of you. So perhaps maybe you put your 5K in and then Bitcoin takes a dump. Next thing you know, you're down 10-20% on your position, and you're thinking about selling. This is not for me, I want the safety of a bank account. Well, that's why I would say start reading up. I'm going to give you guys some really good sites to kind of monitor, to stay in the game, right? First site, you guys want to stay up to date with the news, so Cointelegraph, okay, and CoinDesk are the two best news sites for crypto in general. So you can go to these sites anytime you're feeling anxious, read the content there. You guys can check out my site as well, TarekPierce.com. I post Bitcoin articles on there all the time. Not so much news, but more so, price predictions and price targets, things like that. The research that I've been doing, and like some of the, obviously I post, more videos on there and things like that to help my clients. You also want to be monitoring coin market cap. Okay, there's a lot of other good crypto YouTubers that you can check out. Da Vinci Jeremy is one of the first guys that I watched. I used to watch Ben Armstrong back when he was Bitboy Crypto. So I mean, there's the content's out there, and just let your money sit and just get in the game, get immersed into Bitcoin, so you build the confidence and you're not worried about your money. You're not scared that you're going to lose your investment, because you understand that Bitcoin is volatile, right? It's not like a traditional savings account that's like, pays you a little bit of interest. It really is volatile. Bitcoin sometimes really goes up a lot. Sometimes it really comes down a lot. It really crashes a lot. But at the end of the day, just remember how much Bitcoin you have. That's the important number you want to focus on. You don't want to worry so much about the short-term price. You want to worry about the long-term. So yeah, so that's about it, guys. Wrapping up this video, investing $5,000 in Bitcoin for beginners. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Just leave them in the comments below. And that's all I got until next time, guys. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you guys enjoy my content. I try to post more videos like this, more shorter videos too, because I really don't need to spend 30 minutes talking about this. We can talk about this in a little bit of shorter time. If you guys need any more kind of longer form, much longer videos on Bitcoin investing, you guys just check out some of the videos in my archives on YouTube and things like that. So that's all I got until now, guys. Take care.